Hey everybody, my next guest is a very funny young man who may be best known for his appearance on America's Got Talent. And you know him, you love him. He's the Gothic comic himself, Oliver Graves. Oliver, how you doing, buddy?
Doing okay.
Now you've been doing stand-up for how long now? How many years you got under your belt?
Consistently 10. I'd say 10. Yeah, just 10 in a row. But
Right.
I had some experience before that, which is it throws people off. Or like this is a lot. There's writing, street performing, and just all of this that comes together. So it's not like I was brand new
Right,
when I
right.
started doing it 10 years ago.
Yeah, because you're what, early 30s, so you got some a little bit of mileage under your belt. When did you start? When did you break into comedy?
Like, well, I really started trying, I want to say around 2013. Like, so that wasn't it wasn't my first time, but that's when I was like, I gotta really do this more. Because I had every now and at 16 you can't really do it like when you're in high school, which I did. I did a talent show and I did one-liners then. And like 19, I played with the idea. But then yeah, when I was like turned 21, I was like, okay, well now this is it. And I kind of waited till I was like 22. But I started really grinding and really I was like, okay, I'm gonna go to these bars and everything and really be about it.
And
And there we go.
right from the beginning, were you goth? Were you like going taking a stage like this with the makeup on and the hair and the whole deal?
When I started going to San Francisco and Oakland, yeah, back in then yeah, it's weird to think. Like I guess it was 2013, and you brainwash in San Francisco when that was a thing, and yeah, I it comes from the one-liners I'd write on MySpace where I was negative excitement.
Right, right. Yeah.
I don't know if anyone remembers. I had like probably 5,000 friends on Facebook. Tom was one of them. And it just was writing one-liners then too, but they were way darker and not really funny. Sometimes they were like just thought-provoking things that I would say, like controversial political things at the time in
Oh, so
2005.
you were already kind of ahead on that, like you were doing MySpace memes and getting already kind of online famous back then.
Not really. I mean, but my foot was in the water. Like I played with the idea,
Yeah.
but it didn't, MySpace wasn't really a place for stand-up comedy without, because I didn't have a camera. I just wrote it out. I treated it like Twitter. And people was like, why aren't
Right.
you a hit
Yeah.
on Twitter? I'm like, I think people like the performance. So if I just tweet stuff, it's gotta really hit. If you don't know my voice, you're not gonna,
Yeah.
people have replied to me on things like, yeah, I read that in your voice. I'm like, yeah, well, there's about a million other people that won't read it because they won't get it.
I think like you talk about the one-liners and stuff like that. I think that you're really clever, and a lot of your one-liners are really super strong.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, and that's part of. I think you're like like you probably heard this before, like a gothic, Stephen Wright type of vibes with
Yeah,
Stephen Wright meets Robert Smith type of thing.
that is exactly what a producer in San Jose for Air America's Got Talent, when I did the call down there in 2017, 2018, can't remember when that was, but you don't meet the judges right away. Like they do these open calls, big conference. And he was like, you are like a gothic Stephen Wright. And then when I was on the show, I don't know if they put that on TV. I remember Howie Mandel also said the same thing. But then he later was like, you're your own thing. Like so when you watch more of me, I think that's a good icebreaker is it's gothic Stephen Wright, but more of me, it is a little bit, I think it's a bit more meta. I am more inspired by, Emo Phillips, Neil Hamburger, so I can like bend the expectations of comedy. But that is a good like base level is Stephen Wright.
Yeah, because I could see the Neil Hamburger and, like you said, those type of vibes of that kind of we call that anti-comedy when,
Right, meta
yeah,
humor, sure.
yeah, meta humor, and I could see that because I don't know how much of your act is a character and how much is really you. I feel like it's really you. Is this how you like? Did you go out in public like that all the time? Is this your
All
vibe?
the time? No, not all the time. I don't fly like this. I don't go to the store like this, but
Like
I do go
food
out and hang
shopping?
out.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
I mean it's I was into the clubs, like the other club scene, not the comedy club scene. But I go to Temple and DNA Lounge in San Francisco, which I'm not from San Francisco. So like that was a drive. That was a trip to get there. I'm probably not traditional goth, but I'm more into, I love trance music, house music. I'm into cyber goth. I was a glow stick dancing kid.
Revenge will be sweet when the curse is complete.
And I mean, I love it.
That's what's
looking something good.
Yeah. And that's what I like about you too, is you're from, like you said, this glow stick kind of gothic, kind of what EDM vibes, right? And there's not a lot of that culture that's transcends into comedy. It's so the fact that you've become a comedian makes you rare. Is it rare, or are there other goth comics out there that we haven't seen yet?
I mean, not everywhere. I think probably if you check every state, every little comedy community, you'll probably find one in Florida. You'll probably find a couple in New York, but it's not as many. The type of people that are tend to draw into comedy, you're right. It's a different walk of life, but it's great though, because some of the stuff overlaps, that I do these all kinds of cool shows, like variety shows and things. And I'm a huge nerd, and you find out like, no, this stuff, it absolutely overlaps. Like, who do you think is, playing Dungeons and Dragons while listening to Metallica, ACD? Like, they all get it.
That's what too I like about you, is that as different from the mainstream as you may appear, I think with the one-liners and with your vibe, people could still relate to you, because at the core we're all the same. And I think you tap into that, a lot of that core, with some of your jokes and some of the,
well, it's on purpose. I mean, I can't go up and just do nothing but Pokemon and Dragon Ball Z jokes to my heart's content, who knows Transformers? Can I do some jokes about Galvatron? Like, you don't even know who Galvatron is, but I would love to do that, but I know better than to do that. I know I'm not going to connect with the audience. They want to hear things that make sense to them, not something they go, I think I get it.
Now, when you were a young kid, what drew you to comedy? Which comedians were was it emo and those type of guys? Which ones were standing out to you?
I wasn't drawn to them initially. I was aware of Emo Phillips. I was aware of Neil Hamburger, Mitch Hedberg. Maria Bamford was one I really liked, and I don't, you're probably like, well, I'm nothing like Maria, which is true. I liked people that bend things, and I think Maria Bamford does a lot of that. She does a lot of, I don't know how she gets away with it. It works, is what I'm saying. Is like what she's doing works so well. But I wasn't really drawn to comedians. I mean, I like performing, I like theaters, I love movies. And I saw stuff like you're, like Kiss. I'm not like a fan of Kiss per se. I don't dislike them. I'm not into them though, but I love what they do. One of my favorite movies is actually Detroit Rock City. But they decided, like, we're not gonna just do the regular thing. We can, there's another level to this. And Daft Punk, Lady Gaga, and I kind of felt the same way. I'm like, when people are sitting and watching comedy, to just kind of use your voice and maybe you act. I don't really do act outs, but I've started to try to move that. But like, use your body more. But also, if you don't take into consideration of what you look like, you're wasting mental energy on the audience. Like, they are paying attention to you. You should address it. Address these things. Use these things. You can do more with what they're able to take in from all their senses. So why would you waste those opportunities?
Right. Yeah. No, I think that's a great point, and I think that you definitely bring a full package when you take the stage. Instantly, everyone is like, all right, this guy's on.
Who's this guy? It's very different whether or not I'm doing a show where people are coming out because they saw I was on the bill, and like I'm a big part of the show. Hey, it's the guy from AGT. Come see him. And so you get people that and then there's all these times where people are just coming to the comedy show.
Right.
And then I walk out and they have no idea, vast majority of people don't have any connection to who I am or anything. And it's just, I have to instantly pull my energy, do what I do, and it's almost mime work. You know, like I wish I had more time on stage because I can just like hold the mic stand and like let it go and let it flop and like not even look at it. And that energy already it causes tension, but it's a tension in a, you know, the framing of comedy, so people laugh usually.
Right, yeah.
Sometimes.
No, I think it's great, like because you know, part of your stage presence is you don't really smile, and it's kind of like Stephen Wright in a way, because you're just delivering it straight, almost sometimes kind of monotone, but and it's really that makes it even funnier, and then also the writing behind it, and it's not easy to write one-liners. No matter what anybody thinks, it's very difficult, especially now after all these years of all these, you know, joke books and one line, to come up with something fresh.
It's very easy to write just soft one line, like things that are like, okay, yeah, that's funny. You can write those all day.
Right, yeah.
Where people go, yeah, I got it. Yeah, I get it. Or, yeah. Or they'll breathe out their nose a little. Yeah. You don't want that. You don't want 25 minutes to 45 minutes of just people nodding and like maybe clapping once. Like you want them to laugh. It is very hard to write very strong, very good one. And I never know which ones are the best. And I'm always surprised when I'm like, that one, okay, really? I guess I got to use that one more.
Some of the masters of the one-liners, obviously Stephen Wright, but I think Rodney Dangerfield is
Rodney. Oh, he's another one I love.
Maybe the king of it. If you ever like really watch Rodney when he was on Johnny Carson, he would do like, you know, 10 minutes of stand-up and then sit on the couch and then just,
and he would do material to Johnny on, basically.
Yeah. And then Stephen Wright was the same way. But do you study those guys, those masters, and say, wow, man, like look what they're doing, well, look what they've done?
I don't try to like study. Like every now and then I do want to like look at something else, but I, for the most part, don't try to watch, you know, comedy. I see a lot of it anyway. There's people that like float around in my area that are a bit similar to my energy. So if they're ever on stage and, you know, we're on the same show or something, I will definitely watch them, because you want to see what they're doing and what's working currently, because that's the other thing about, you know, if you're watching Rodney Dangerfield on Johnny Carson, he's doing all that stuff that works really well. He's not working material there, like right, you know, saying like these jokes that are like ha, like I guess that was okay. Like you don't want that anyway. Like you want to build to something better. So at the level I'm at, I need to see stuff that might be shakier. So I'm not gonna name names, but
right.
But people that are like that are dry and like, okay, what are they doing that's working right now? And what
right, you got to weigh it out and see what they're doing, what the, you know, just like anything else, you got to gauge the audience, gauge the times, and see what's working these days. Like, you know, you've had some like the one-liners that I've seen were on America's Got Talent, and you did the 2 sets on there, right? That's just, how far did you get with America's Got Talent?
They changed the format all the time. So back when I did it, you had to get past the judges twice, and I only made it past the judges once. So the first time they moved me forward, the second time I did not move forward. Now they kind of just fudge it, and you really only have to move forward once, and then you make the live shows, and America votes for you.
You've got 4 yeses. Congratulations.
So America never. So many people are like, "I voted for you." I'm like, "Oh, okay. I don't know how you did."
Right. Yes.
That's because I didn't make it that far, but all right.
Yeah, and but some of the things you came up with, like, you know, your mom's a hoarder, so you know she'll never throw you out. And I'm not doing these one-liners any justice, but these are great. I'm going to show the clips, and also that you sleep with stuffed animals because you love, you know, taxidermy.
I love taxidermy. So I sleep with stuffed animals. I can't help it. I just love taxidermy.
Your writing, do you set aside time every day and write, or do they come to you and you like, how does your writing work?
Well, I write for a newspaper, so I have to write at a certain point.
Oh, there you go.
If not for deadlines, I'd never get anything done. Which sometimes I don't get things done, as my editor has let me know. But so I am a writer, but that's not really my humor. Like they're long, like rants almost. I mean, they hired me. They kind of knew what they were going to get, but that doesn't necessarily translate into jokes. So every now and then I will find something in an article and go, that could be a joke. So the article will be really long, but then I'm like, okay, but let me get to the punchline of that. Because I know, well, I don't know. It's very difficult to be a writer and a comedian. Because as a writer for a newspaper, when they tell me something worked really well, like, oh, this article you wrote on the new Taco Bell, like everyone loves it. It's really great. I'm like, okay, just run that one over and over. That's the one that works.
Right.
Like that, we found it. So run that one for 6 months, and then I'll write something new. Because as a comedian, when you find something that works, you use it over and over.
Right.
As writing for a newspaper, like I have to do a new article every month, two new articles every month. So it's a lot of darts at the board. You're hoping for a bullseye.
Yeah, man. And what paper are you writing for?
I write for the Argus Courier. They're out of Petaluma in Sonoma County.
Nice.
They're connected to the Press Democrat, and yeah, I have my own column, Oliver's World. They supposedly I got an award, but they've never given it. I was told I get a certificate. I've never gotten it.
But you could say technically you're an award-winning writer.
I am an award. They made it clear to me that I am an award-winning writer. I looked it up. The California Journalism Awards did honor me. I was like, okay, I guess it seems real.
You just need to hang it on your wall now.
I'm just gonna make my own with a Sharpie and cardboard, like certificate.
So, do you still work in the comedy scene locally?
Yes. And trying to break out, not locally, but that's always difficult because I'm offered feature pay but headliner spots. I'm like, okay, well, I kind of know what my draw is, so that's probably fair, but that doesn't really make flights work. So,
what would you say is your target audience?
Well, unfortunately, it's people that know me from AGT, which is a lot of children and elderly, which don't really go to comedy shows.
Right.
I didn't break out hard enough, but I do really well with the 20, 30 something year olds. So when they're in the audience, they tend to love me.
Yeah, and I saw some of the footage too of some of the stand up when and I think you handle hecklers pretty well. Like I saw one where some guy was like kept yelling stuff out, and you handled it pretty well.
Yeah, and that happens. I was getting very good at improv. I was hanging out with an improv troupe on purpose. There's comedians and improv shops don't clash, but I knew I needed to get to that point because not every show is a theater show where everyone's just sitting paying attention, and you get to keep that, that fourth wall up.
Right.
Comedy is a back and forth at times. So yeah, that show, that guy was heckling and he was moving seats, and I'm like, all right, I got to be ready for him. And he did, he's not funnier than the comic. Like that's usually the easiest thing. People are always, they're worried about hecklers when they're new because I help run an open mic. I'm like, they're usually not going to be funnier than you. They're usually going to be more scared. Like you try talking back to them, they usually shut up or they don't have anything good to say. And sure enough, he was saying the same stuff. He just wanted the attention, which I'm not a, grilling, roasting comic. So it's like I don't come at him super hard, which keeps the audience on your side too, because you don't need to sit there and eviscerate the person. He's just lonely and wishes he had the attention that I'm getting, but he doesn't. Right. And you just kind of highlight that and make fun of that, and it keeps the audience on your side. And it usually, unfortunately, makes that person very upset. But if they were a happy person, they wouldn't be heckling a comedy show.
Exactly. I hecklers never add anything positive to a show, but I think too that every comic should be prepared for that when it does happen. And especially with a comic like you, who you coming up looking different to begin with, and then these people, some of the times the audience members, they want to test you and see if you got what kind of mettle you have as a stand-up. So I think you handled it well. And yeah, man, kudos.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, that's just part of the world. I don't want to encourage it. I don't want to be known for it, but I tend to be okay with hecklers.
Now,
There's other times I wish I had video of it, but oh well. I got snored on one time.
really, like he was sleeping in the audience, or like,
Yeah,
oh,
someone was passed out snoring. Yeah.
oh, like legit passed out, or just fucking
Yeah.
with you?
Yeah.
Oh,
No, legit.
and how'd you handle that?
They were in and out, so every now and then I let things get quiet. I'm like, oh, we're still over there, just, and they would get laughs, and I think the laughs at one point were so big it woke them up.
Now the comedy, how is the comedy scene where you are? You said you host open mic. How's the scene? You got a lot of good comics bubbling over there. Where are you in Sedona?
Sonoma County, so we're north of San Francisco, just about an hour north. So we, plenty of comics up, back, down, everywhere, the Bay Area, because it's close enough.
Yeah.
So I'm able to get to SF, Oakland, and do shows, and people come up to Sonoma County area. So it is always up and down. New rooms will open. They'll be cool and hot for a while, and maybe they won't last. And I'm doing, a theater here, a bar show here. It's just part of it.
Dude, San Fran is in the whole Bay Area is such a great place for comedy. It's like a mecca of comedy. That's where like so many great comedians.
I don't know. Yeah.
Back in the day, San Fran, that's where like so many.
Yeah, maybe a few years ago. And it's,
how is it now?
I don't do great in San Francisco. I'm gonna be real, and it's not
really.
It's not my town.
I figured yeah.
No, I cause tension, and I the further away from San Francisco, the better I do.
Really?
Oh yeah. When I was out in like Indiana and Washington and stuff, I'm like, I kind of molded my comedy to be general as much as it's like, oh, is this guy gonna do nothing but goth jokes? So, well, no, there'll be some, but I still feel like it's stuff where it's still everyday enough where it's approachable for everyone, but it's it's edgy, it walks the line. And I think people in San Francisco, oh, are we allowed to laugh at that? They think too much, so rather than just enjoying it.
So they're too woke for you.
Well, they're just wooden. They're just tepid to the okay, that was, yeah, okay.
So are you, when you're writing these one-liners now, do you hold back anything because of the temperature of the world and all this stuff that
No, I mean, you can always write them, and then you have to know whether or not to do them when you're on the show. And not that I always know, but that's basically the better position. Is you'd rather have it around and work on it than to not touch it. Although most people were telling me after I was on AGT, it's like, you should start writing clean, start working on that, be a clean comic. And I've dipped into that back and forth, and I'm like, that's just not what I do, and I'm not getting those opportunities. If someone were to book me for 15 to 20 minutes clean, like, I'm gonna nail it. Can I do an hour clean? No.
Right.
But I'm not getting these opportunities anyway, so I'm not worrying about, but people are like, you never know when that opportunity is going to knock. I'm like, well, not anymore. It's been a few years. Like, I've gone from AGT to losing the San Francisco comedy competition. We're like, I'm a setting sun at this point. Like, let's just.
Well, look, you're still young. And have you ever thought about maybe putting out your own special? Like, a lot of comics nowadays are putting out their own specials on YouTube and stuff like that. And then maybe that can garner some attention and get on, like, a Netflix deal or something along those lines. Maybe.
I've never put the effort and the thought into a special, because I'm just like, what am I doing still? Like, I am kind of like, what is my act? So, like, I know what to do if someone books me for a show, but like the idea of a special, I'm just like, well, then I have to lean into what I am 100%. And also, I don't get to play with the audience in a special as much. You have to frame that for basically not TV, but basically for TV, the fourth wall has to be there. So I haven't cracked that as far as like, could I do it? Could I pull it off in a way that I'm comfortable with? Like, I probably could. And people are always like, fake it till you make it. I'm like, but I'd want I'd want to feel very confident and not just like, well, I did that. I got it
Yeah.
out. I got the 30 minutes out or whatever it was, you know.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think you should, don't just do it to do it. Take your time with it and craft it and get all that stuff. But I think you have a lot to work with. First of all, you have the writing chops. You're a writer, and that's, to me, as far as comedy goes, that's 80%, right? Then the other 20% would be stage presence and delivery and all that stuff. So to me, that 80% chunk is huge, and you have that, you're able to write some really great one-liners. And like I said, one-liners are not easy to do. The setup punch stuff is difficult. A lot of comics these days are just telling stories or playing the crowd, or just doing old school throwback, whether they realize it or not, just doing old school throwback dick jokes type of stuff. But I think with what you're doing is different, and it's a niche. You have a certain thing that nobody else is doing. There's no other goth comics like you. I mean, we have there's a guy here locally that's his name's Steve Rocco Perillo, if you ever check him out. He's not as goth as appearance as you are, but he's kind of goth and dark. But maybe that's something too you could think about, is maybe doing a like the Kings of Comedy, but the Goths of Comedy or something along the
Comedy,
yeah, get a bunch of these goth comics.
Dark Mark, he's in LA. He's a goth comic.
Yeah,
we've interacted on social media a few times.
Yeah, so I think if you get a group of you together, that could be something too. But I do think you have something great that's ready to really cultivate. And I think that getting on America's Got Talent kind of rocketed you.
And it still lingers. It's this weird thing about AGT where it happened in 2018, but so many people didn't see it till like the end of 2018, like leading into 2019, because they released the clip on Facebook, because the way the show works is they want to promote the people that are moving forward. So they blast all of them on social media. Like, oh, here, look at Shenlin. Look at this amazing magic he does. Like, look at I don't know what singer they have.
Right.
But right. Look at this amazing. And they blast them on social media because like you got to vote for them. I wasn't voted for. So they sat on my clips. I'm like, all right, well, now we don't have anything to air. It's October, November, December. Like, there's no new episodes. So like, look at these clips. And then one day they posted me and it blew up. And they do it again on like all this. Let's check it out on YouTube and Facebook, and eventually they did it on Snapchat, like at like the beginning of this year.
Wow.
Which again, it's like I get these little like jumps and like people checking me out. I'm like, oh, that was really cool. Which they don't tell me. They don't like let me know like, hey, by the way, we're posting you on Snapchat tomorrow. Like it took like 3 days, and someone's like messaging me like, are you on Snapchat? I'm like, I didn't know about this.
Right. You're just finding out with everybody else.
Yeah, I would have been more prepared. I would have,
Yeah, throughout, help promote it.
Yeah, I would have told everyone like, hey, people are finding me right now. Yeah, because that's like millions of views. They don't necessarily tag you in either. A couple times they'll actually put Oliver Graves. Sometimes they just put goth comedian. I'm like,
right,
okay, cool. You gotta hope that they like look you up and find you.
Yeah, that could be a little bit frustrating, but it's good and bad. They're getting you out there on a big platform, but yeah.
I hope it keeps lingering too, because like I don't feel like I'm gonna ever get anything like that ever again. It was so big, so it's all downhill. So, but like, if I don't know, are they gonna do a TikTok thing? Like, do a TikTok, like however much they want to milk this, I'll milk it with them. Like, there's
sometimes they do like they bring people back for like a special visit. Have they ever approached you to do anything like that?
They do that for people that made the live shows. They go, hey, special guest performer. Hey, remember from season 12, remember from season 14, here's this performer back. And they get to do all the cool other stuff. I didn't make it to the live shows, so I won't. They could. I doubt they will. They could invite me back for that. But also, as everyone's always kind of said, like, you could just go back on the show, because if you make the live shows supposedly the contracts. It's a contest, you know, whatever contest, you know, game show scams. Like you can't scam a game show. Jeopardy, Wheel of Fortune. They have rules. They have actual governed laws. So I guess through contracts and things, if you make the live shows once, you can't ever do it again because it would be seen as an unfair advantage. You now have connections to the game show. You can't say you don't know them and you're never met. It's like you actually have met them. So you can't ever do the game show portion again.
Right.
I've never done the game show portion. So I could, in theory, attempt to go back on the show again. And I had a conversation with someone about it. And I was like, well, this is all I really do. They're like, well, could you do something different? I was like, well, no. This is, I haven't, my act hasn't like evolved. Still a one-liner comic.
Well, the only thing you could do different is go there with without the makeup,
which I don't think will be happening. Like, I mean, what that would be a waste of my time for sure.
Right.
Like, well, no one's gonna make the connection then.
Right. Exactly. That'd be
I had a lot of gimmicks and ideas that I don't think they went for. I'm like, I could go and I could do my act blindfolded. So it's add the danger element because they love that. They could add fire. I'm like, okay, you could have some fire next to me.
That would be cool.
Like whatever because an alligator, sure, put an alligator in front of me. I'll do my act in front of an alligator because they love when you up the danger element.
Right. Yeah. The more dangerous, the better. Yeah.
So sure.
Can you juggle chainsaws? You know.
Yeah, I can't juggle it all. We can have a chainsaw. I can hold a chainsaw. You won't be able to hear me. There was a guy that was on, I don't know how many seasons ago, that was very tall and skinny, and he wore like a mask, like a just white mask, and he was doing one-liners, and he did a joke that was very similar to mine, and people were like, was that you? I was like, first of all, he wasn't strong. He was not a strong comic. And second of all, I have the sensibilities to understand if I'm not being heard. You couldn't hear him. Like I've been performing for years. I understand basic stuff about being able to project your voice and speak into a microphone. Although there's people that argue that, you know, I have to be turned up a lot on shows. I'm like, because I like to be quiet. I like to make people need to listen. So that's intentional when I have to do that.
Yeah, they call that a power move too. Like people do that in meetings and stuff. They'll talk low.
Some people call it a weak performer, which it's like it's on purpose.
No, it's on purpose because you're forcing people to have to listen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Because they don't want to miss anything.
Exactly, man. You know, but no, I think it would be cool if you went back on there.
Maybe this year I'll try, but I don't think anything's gonna. I guess I'll give a shout out to I don't know if you've ever spoken to Alex Hooper, this comedian that was on America's Got Talent as well.
Yeah, I think I know who he is, but I've never spoken to him.
He roasted the judges. He was there the same day that I filmed because we're in different episodes. So he actually went back, and I hope he's doing well. He's actually dealing with cancer right now, lymphoma.
God bless. Yeah.
So yeah, but he's a big part of my journey. So I have so much respect for him. I'm so sad. I'm trying not to. I'm so upset that he has cancer. I really hope he gets through it because watching him roast the judges, I was supposed to go out sometime next, and I'm just watching him. He had about a third of the audience on his side, but then 2/3 of them just booing him. But I thought he was doing really well, and I was like, well, they hate comedy.
That's right before you're going on.
Yeah, I was like, well, I'm the only other comedian back here, and they have any other little girl singers? Like that's who they seem to love right now because I'm not one of those. But he got to go back, which was great. Which is like, well, you know, like once again, like looking. You watch other comics to see what they can do, to see what you can get away with, and like, well, you know, he got to go another round, and we'll see. So I keep an eye on some things. I don't watch the show. People like that. Do you know this person? This person? I'm like, I don't really watch the show that much. Like, I don't really know.
Yeah, I don't watch it that much either. But I've had Tom Cotter on the show, and he was.
Yeah, he's great. Yeah,
he was awesome, and he got pretty far. I think he's the farthest that any comedian has ever gotten.
I think he might have even gotten second.
Yeah, he got second
in the very end. How it all. I don't think a comic has gotten second since him. I think there's been like third, fourth.
Yeah.
But yeah, he was the closest to ever having a comic win it.
He lost the
and
dogs, a
he
dog
lost the
act.
dogs. Yeah, I got it. Yeah, well, I mean, I know I got limited to cats.
Really? Yeah.
Cats moved forward. I didn't.
Oh man. Yeah, that's people, it's tough on a show like that. But the good thing is that it gets you exposed. It gets you, like you said, millions of views, puts you on the map, and it gives you a little bit of a boost, you know.
I feel so lucky that I am I allowed to swear in this thing? I don't
Yeah,
know.
sure.
I'm so lucky I fucking cried on TV. Like I was so embarrassed. I really was. Like people were like, oh, it was a real tears. I'm like, I didn't want to cry. Are you kidding me? You know how it just like I was really, really trying not to. I didn't want to do that. But they're like, well, because of that, your video went viral. I'm like, yeah, but now it went viral because I cried. I wanted to go viral because I'm funny.
Right. Right.
But like,
right.
no, it went viral because you're funny and you cried. Like you're so good. And I was like, okay, well, so I'll take that and we can let it linger into the internet for the ages.
Tell me what you're feeling right now.
I didn't think that would happen at all.
You didn't think it would happen.
So
It was a great moment. It was a great moment because you did your stand up, you poured it all out there, you know, and then you got the ovation from the crowd, and getting that kind of accolade like that, it would bring any of us to tears. It's a proud moment. Those are tears of pride, man.
after 14 hours of filming and 3 hours of sleep and watching all your people you're making friends with backstage getting eliminated, I thought I was gonna go out there and get eliminated like everyone else. Like I thought, this is my turn. Let's get this over with. And I had a pretty good set too. I'm like, I'll think of nights where I messed a word up here or there, or my delivery was off, and I can still think and like I can rewatch that set, the AGT set, and go, I actually did a pretty good job of like delivering things and dealing with reactions from the crowd, and just moving along exactly as I would want to.
Even just walking out and staying in character when they say hi to you, and not being like, hey, how are you, smiling, and just keeping that high,
I couldn't hear them too. They're asking me questions, and I was just like,
right.
like what? Like there was a weird feedback in the audio where they're supposed to feed audio onto the stage so you can hear what they're saying, and then the
Right.
audience can hear what they're saying too, because they're it's a live show. But I was like,
Yeah.
and they're just making fun of me, and I'm like, I guess I'm just gonna take this.
How would you say that AGT changed your life?
Well, it gave me I always have something. It's just always there, and it's always floating around, popping back up. So it's this little like marker on the map. Like maybe I'm not like a big shining thing, but like I'm a little tack on a map. Like Santa Rosa comic from here, and I'm working with what people know of me from that, because so many people will look that clip up. That's how they're selling me on a show that's coming up. Is from America's Got Talent, headlining
Right.
California Theater. It's Oliver Graves. I'm like, okay. So I probably can't do any jokes from that clip. But it's still it affords me these opportunities where I can kind of, I get no's a lot. Like I'm not getting these gigs I'd like to get, but when I get a yes, I can kind of have those conversations and land and do the type of performance and show I want to do. Whereas if before I'd be like, who is this? Who are you to say, like I know I'm not strong for an hour. I could do an hour. Someone books me for an hour, I could do that. I don't want to do an hour because I know part of the sort of experience of seeing me and knowing me, following me, is people are going to want to talk to me.
Right.
So you kind of have to like understand that time frame of, well, I'm going to do 30, 35, 45. Then I'm going to get off stage, and then there's going to be a line to meet me, because that's part of it, is that interaction. Whereas, comics, they do the gig, they say hello, and they go by. I'm like, people want pictures. They want to share their stories. They want to ask me questions. It doesn't happen every time. I'm not saying like, oh, I'm amazing. Oh yeah. Just
no, but
every now and then that does happen. I'm like, if I don't plan for it, and planning for the energy of the room, and it's like, you couldn't do that if you were just some comic.
Yeah, and I think it's more important to have a tight 30, 45 than to stretch an hour, and then then it starts to get stale if it's not super tight.
I don't know that my energy will ever lend to a whole hour unless I'm doing a lot of crowd work, which is fun. I love doing crowd. I mean, I love doing improv. So I know I could do that, but I'm like, I would never tell people or sell myself on an hour that is crowd work and improv.
Right.
Like that feels so unprofessional. But that's another thing is I can have conversations with people that I feel like that I wouldn't have been able to have because I was on it. I can say, well, I have 35 and I like to play with things. So there might be an extra 10 minutes of me playing with it. And then normally they will, oh, come on, you don't have 45. Like, well, no, I'm telling you, I can sell you 35 minutes right now. And there's gonna be 10 of the, and I love transparency. Like I was lit early on a show one time because I wasn't doing well. I started clean and I got dirtier. And when I got dirtier, they pulled back and they didn't like me.
Right.
So about 20 minutes into my set, it was like, oh, I'm now bombing. So they lit me early and they didn't tell me they were gonna do that. It's like, well, had you said something to me like, hey, this audience the whole night it's been shaky, so I might let you, or like, let's be transparent, like just end strong. If you're doing well, fine, but like let's talk about it. Which people are like, get them off stage. I'm like,
right.
I don't have a problem with someone being clear and saying, hey, like this is, if you're going well, do 45. If it's not going well, do 25. Let's, that we're here to sell tickets. They're already in the door.
Exactly.
Let's try not to make them ask for refunds. Let's be on the same page about what you want me to do. If I'm committed to my time, then I'm committed to my time.
Right.
But if not, a lot of people don't have conversations about that, and it's frustrating.
No, I agree. I think it should be transparent, and that they should let you know, hey, look, we might light you if things don't go well. With such and such last week, we had to do it to him. The crowds have been shaky lately, or something along those lines. I think it's important for you to know, because if you're in the middle of your act and you start getting lit, it's gonna could throw everything off. And
yeah, and I was watching that show and I knew it wasn't going well. So if you were just frustrated with the show in general and you just wanted to end it, like tell the comics.
Yeah, right.
Tell me. And then I might have gone lighter, but I was booked to do whatever I wanted to do, and I'm like, that's not, maybe it is. I will take responsibility. Like that is on me, but I don't know your room. I don't know that there's literally a church group here until I'm on stage and I interacted with them and found out, because no one else did crowd work.
Wow.
To get to that information, which I know that's another thing is talk to your comments about whether or not they're going to do crowd work. If your headliner is going to do crowd work, because I did a show one time where the comic ahead of me did a lot of crowd work, and I liked the audience, and I was like, oh, I'm probably going to do crowd work, and I should have said something to him because he was like my lead-in. I should be like, hey, don't do. But luckily he talked to different people, and I was still able to, and I could build off of what he did. But I remember very professional comedian. He said to another one, he goes, "Is there anything you want me to avoid?" And the headliner, he was young, he was probably about my age. And the comic that I asked was probably about 15 years older. The headliner goes, "I've never heard anyone ask me that. What avoid?" It's like, well, subjects. If there's any subjects that you're gonna do, and then you don't want me to do them, I'm like, why don't we do that more? Like, what you could, if I were to like, well, yeah, can you stay away from necrophilia? I'm like, can you? It's kind of like, I want that to be my thing tonight. But I wish more people could be, just let's talk a little bit. What are you going to be doing? Because I get booked in these shows and I don't always bring my opener, or I don't always know anyone else on the show. So I had a comic. I'm just talking shit now. That's just all I'm doing.
Yeah, let's do it.
I had a comic so I was down in the Central Valley. So the Central Valley, it's outside LA, it's outside the Bay Area, it's everything in the middle of California. So I drove however many hours, like 5 hours from the Bay Area to get there. So people would drive then the 2 whatever hours from LA up. Like they would drive north, I drove south. So like we have a comic from LA, they're from Los Angeles. That's who's opening for you. That's the feature. So they're gonna do their time, and then you're gonna come out and headline. I was like, okay, cool, great. And they had a sheet of paper. They were holding a sheet. They were just like full on, like reading from a sheet of paper.
Oh my God. And
at the end of their set, and they go, "So I've run out of jokes." So What do you want to talk about? And I was off stage, like looking at another comic, like, we make fun of this.
Yeah.
This
Holy
is the joke. Every comic makes this joke to other comics. So what do you want to like?
right, yeah.
This is my lead in.
Damn.
Just get off.
Yeah.
Just get off stage.
That's when you that's when you light somebody.
And they didn't. They didn't. That's the thing where I'm like, no, yeah, light them no matter what. Like, get them off. Get them off. You don't. This isn't like an Airbnb where comics are owed 17 minutes.
Right.
Like, they're here to do a job. If they had 12, they do 12 and they get off. I understand, you got to do your 2 shows, you're at a club, you have to do your time. We got to keep it tight, but can't go too short. I understand there are places and positions where you'll be in where that is absolutely true. But there's plenty of places and positions where that's not true. And just get the fuck off stage.
Exactly, man. Yeah, that could be frustrating. And nobody likes this. Nobody wants to see a comedian reading off a piece of paper and then certainly run out of jokes and then go, hey, so what do you guys want to talk about?
Well, like use it, address it, make it part of it. I would use a notebook sometimes. Like, actually, I think I have one of them right here. I don't know if it'll show up right now, but like, it's like a notepad. Oop, my background. I don't know if I put it right in front of my face.
Yeah, there you go.
But I would like read off of it sometimes. It was my set list, and I did it at open mics, because like that's what I'm doing. And it was like a prop. People like they were mad at me when I got rid of it because so many people in my area knew me for doing it. And, I don't know what joke I would do. Like, say breakfast is the most important meal of the day. Well, not if you're poisoned. Then the antidote becomes the most important meal.
Right.
And it got laughs, like looking at like people that
Right.
knew when the jokes were over and like flipping the page and just like my reaction. Like, okay.
There was a comic. What the heck was his name? A black dude, and he would do that. And when it went well, he would go, "All right," and then he like lick the pen and then like write it down. Like,
oh,
like
that's good. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, no, I think that works. If you know how to work the prop properly, like you do, then it works because you're making it work. But if you're literally just reading off of a sheet of paper, just jokes.
Yeah, I made it work, but it was like on accident. Like, I didn't know what I was doing. Like, I was like a horse that was, clumping, and people were like, oh, we love that noise. And we're clapping. I'm like, oh, I guess I'll
keep doing
clumping. I don't know. But I got rid of it because so many people were adamant that you have to memorize your jokes and do all that. And I still need a set list. I can't memorize.
Yeah, just bullet points, right? Just
it is. It's it's again, probably won't show up, but like in my face. It's just words.
Yeah,
just one word. And every now and then I do need to look at when I do longer sets. Like, I gotta have it near me. Sometimes I don't need it, but I literally suffered from brain fog. That sounds like a made up thing.
No, it's real.
It's a real thing, and it's like I don't smoke weed. I just will from narcolepsy and my inflammation issues where I'm not absorbing nutrients like a normal person. I can blank, but I'm like, if I have my set list, I'm fine. And it's so weird that people they'll shame you. They're like, oh, you have to have notes. Comics should have notes. Okay.
It is one of those things with the purist. Yeah, but I think a set list is different than having your jokes written down. I know lots of comics that have a set list. I mean, bands use set lists. I mean, it's
sure.
That's to me fine. And I think to some degree
they have set
too,
lists. They don't have sheet music.
Right. Yeah. But I think too, if it is an open mic, or if you're working out material, to have a notebook on stage, like sitting on a stool or something, is fine. I wouldn't recommend holding it, like if you're like that girl you're talking about, whoever the comic was,
straight up, the full sheet,
just reading it. But like how you did it, you played off of it, used it as a prop, you made it work for you. I think that's cool, and I don't see anything wrong with using this set list. But also, I don't like the purist comics who shame other comedians for all kinds of stuff. They don't like a lot of the purist comics don't like they don't like ventriloquists. They don't like guitar comedians, prop comics, characters.
There's a lot of ways to make this work. There's a lot of ways to make people laugh.
Exactly, man.
And at the end of the day, if that's what's happening,
right?
who are you to say?
Exactly. Funny is funny. You know, regardless of where it's coming from or how it's delivered. Funny is funny, you know?
Yeah, and I like that comic I was talking about that had the mask on AGT. Like, if what he was doing was working, who cares? But that was like an actual logistics thing. Where it's like, if you're reading notes and it's really, you know, like, then it probably won't work. But you even still, you can't count it out. And I guess in a lot of ways, I'm the exception. Like, people always ask me for advice on comedy. I'm like, well, don't do what I do, because a lot of what I do is on purpose wrong.
Right.
Like, you should look like you're up there having a good time, so it's like you're hanging out with the audience and everyone's having a good time. Like, I don't do that.
Right. That's what works for you. Yeah.
Right. So it's like you can't unless you want to do what I do, which a couple people have. I've been sent a video of someone who was in an acting class. He's like, I did your set as a monologue. I was like, okay.
At least they told you.
I mean, it's an acting class, so he wasn't like he was doing it in
Oh,
a
yeah,
comedy show
yeah.
or anything. He just was. It was weird. I guess I did that kind of stuff when I was, you know, like in high school. Like you could do you could do any kind of like monologue. Like, you could look up the Ferris Bueller. Like, Ferris Bueller says stuff into the camera. Like, he has a long monologue. Like, you could just do that in your acting class. And
Right.
rather, if you don't want to do Shakespeare.
So
and
it's an
he
honor.
was like, yeah, he was like, I did, you know, Oliver Graves for my acting class. I just had to do this piece, and I was like, okay.
Hey, that's an honor, man. That's huge.
I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe that he got the outfit so wrong. Like, it was,
he got the makeup all wrong.
everything. Oh, it was so wrong. There was not enough. Yeah, I was so thin on the black lipstick. I was like, what?
So now, this time of year, now when we get close to October and it gets close to Halloween time, are you a big Halloween guy? I would assume you are, just because you're into the goth thing, and Halloween's a very gothic type of holiday. Is this a big holiday for you?
Not really. Like, the holiday itself, not really. I do like it, and I do sometimes go trick or treating, but I've done it a lot. And it's like I never stop. So it's, you know, they say like, oh, it's a lot of people like, well, they probably went trick or treating like 10 times in their life, because you get to be about 4, you know, from 4 to 14, you do it, right?
Right. Yeah.
And then you don't do it anymore. And it's like, well, I did it when I was in high school every now and then, did it outside of high school every now and then. So it's like, it's not like I need to do it every year. I'm like, oh, I gotta go I gotta go to a Halloween party. But I have like a handful of people trying to book me, and unfortunately, a couple of people got to me first. So like 29th, I think, is this October 29th, I think, is a Saturday, and I'm booked on 2 shows already. And someone tried to book me for a third. I'm like, I can't swing a third show. It's like, I would love to, but I can't do it. So I'm already going from, I worked it out between the 2 shows. I'm going from Santa Rosa, opening a show there, and then driving to Oakland to be at the end of that show in one night. And I'm like, well, that's good. I like getting more mileage out of my makeup.
Yeah, this is like you're in around Halloween, you're getting more demand.
And yeah, someone else is trying to get me that weekend. I'm like, I don't think that's gonna work. Like, I don't think I'm able to drive down further out. You know, I'm like, maybe like if you wanted me the 30th or the 28th. I'm like, I gotta make sure I do those 2 shows on the 29th though. So it's, but I like doing 2 shows on a night. So that's the thing. Like, it doesn't have to be Halloween. I'll do it in November. I'll do it in December.
Right on. Yeah, you could do even do a Christmas show.
Oh yeah, I've done some Christmas shows. I think the red works, the red and black. Like, it's just a nice.
There you go.
I think I like Easter more than Halloween, to be honest.
Really?
Yeah,
Easter's more your day?
Because, well, Halloween it's like it's an excuse for people who don't normally dress up to dress up. I don't need to wait. Right? So it's Halloween is every day I want it, but not every day is Easter. Like, I love the Easter candy, and I have like the bunny gap tooth. So I like bunnies. Yeah.
That's interesting. I wouldn't have saw you as an Easter guy. That's good.
Because it is the thing that's like, it's only once a year. Like, I'm not gonna do Easter stuff in July. Like, are you kidding me? Like, but I'll do Halloween stuff anytime, you know. So Because what else is there to do on Halloween?
Yeah,
To
you
go
go.
door to door and be like, "Do you have any drugs?" I'm not a cop. I just want some drugs.
Are you into horror movies or the horror genre?
Yeah, actually, I am. Yeah, I like the classic ones, like the Universal monsters, and I like monster movies in general. Like, so the Universal monsters are always humans that are actually monsters, but I like the monster movies. Oh, I was just talking with someone about one. I want to rewatch it now. Mimic. Ever seen? It's the one where they breed bugs and then suddenly the bugs start getting bigger and bigger and they're the size of people, but they're bugs. And they kind of stand in the subway, pretend to be people, and then they kill people and eat people. And it's just a neat little movie. But I love stuff like that.
That's
the
cool.
Gate is one I like. But the opening of the original Invisible Man, very good. If you've never seen The Invisible Man with Claude Rains, the movie meanders a little bit, but still tightly paced. It's still pretty fast movie, and he kills a lot of people. I think of all the Universal monsters, the Invisible Man has the highest like body count number. So
Really?
yeah, it's shocking. I think Frankenstein's monster only kills like 2 or 3 people in his movie. Invisible Man is a lot. Like, he is a huge menace. But I do love those as well, all of them.
Yeah, those Universal monster movies with Frankenstein, Dracula, the Mummy,
Yeah.
right? The Creature of Black Lagoon, all these. So you're a big fan of all those, huh? The originals.
Yes, it. I mean, as cheesy as I love the crossover, I love Frankenstein meets the Wolfman. I think I like Lon Chaney Jr. quite a bit as the Wolfman. He just does a really good job. He's the original Hulk, like Banner, Bruce Banner, Hulk, and which I love that story too. But just the way he's this tortured person, it's like, well, what if Frankenstein's work could help me? He does such a good job. He pulls you in, and he only got to be Wolfman, I think, 3 times. I don't think he did it in. There's some real horror nerd that's listening to this goes, actually, Oliver, because I know Lon Chaney Jr. was in the original Frankenstein meets the Wolfman. I think he did House of Frankenstein, but I don't know if he was in House of Dracula. He might have done it because they started switching around, like Bela Lugosi and I can't remember his name.
I'm trying to think myself right now.
It's in Ed Wood. He makes fun of him because Bela Lugosi. There's this fake rivalry.
Yeah, I can't think of.
Oh my god, he was everything. We're like on the internet, but we're not gonna look it up because I love trivia. So it's about challenging yourself. It's not, anyone could just be on the internet and look it up and go,
right,
okay,
yeah. But
here's the answer. Yeah,
use your actual brain.
He was the original Frankenstein. I can't remember his name anymore.
The original Frankenstein. So he said Bela Lugosi, and who'd you say was the Wolfman again? That was
Lon Chaney Jr.
Lon Chaney.
Well, so Jr. Because they're Lon Chaney. His father was the Phantom,
right,
of the opera. So then I'm like, all these names. I'm like, no, it's not Ramus. Ramus is Ghostbuster. It's just like what's it say on the tip of my tongue? Like, he was so many of them.
Yeah. Did you ever see? The Universal monsters were in the what do you call it? Abbott and Costello movie. Right,
which those elements are actually really good. I like Abbott and Costello fine. Like, I'm not that into them.
Right.
But they're okay. But I love that the horror elements in those movies are still very accurate to what they were in the movies. I kind of wish they never did them though, because maybe they would have kept making these monster movies. They basically gave up. And we're like, well, now we're going to let them be comedies. Like, they're going to let them be parodies. I wish because the crossovers never brought in the Mummy or the Invisible Man. Abbott and Costello got to see the Mummy, but it was just Frankenstein, Wolfman, and Dracula, and I guess Scientist, maybe Hunchback. But Invisible Man, Creature from the Black Lagoon, that's one that's like classic Universal monster.
Yeah.
That's in several or all of the, marketing and everything. But that wasn't until the 50s. Some of these were coming out in the 30s and most of the 30s and some of them in the 40s. Creature from Black Lagoon was well after the Gill Man, but now it's right with him. Like, well, maybe if you didn't kill your Dracula, but they decided it was done. Franchise fatigue. And I cheated. I looked it up.
All right.
Boris Karloff.
Ah, yes, Boris Karloff.
He was in
Yes.
so many of the, he was, but like I was saying, they switched around. Boris Karloff, I know, was to play different parts. He played the Mummy, for instance, and Bela Lugosi the same way. But Lon Chaney Jr. was like, he was attached to Wolfman. Like he didn't want anyone else.
He was
to
the
do it.
best Wolfman. I mean, yeah. When you just did that, like I could see that scene where he's like, looking up and all.
Yeah, and I think he knew not to let anyone else do it. I appreciate that as an actor, where it's fun to play different parts. It's fun to be like, well, now I get to be this, I get to be that. But
Right, yeah.
he's like, that was his baby, as he said. It was his, and
that's why Lugosi was the best Dracula, too.
Look, he was, yeah.
But no, that's cool that you're into all that. And but your favorite one is The Invisible Man.
As far as like the movies go, the beginning of that movie, I think Wolfman might be like the best movie because it's very strong. It's a thing that, like, I'm sure Stan Lee saw it and was like, this is how you do origin stories, like how do you do these beats. And again, I really like Frankenstein Meets the Wolfman, although that one's not very good. It is not a good, like, that's getting the B movie tier.
Right.
But I still like elements of Frankenstein Meets the Wolfman. But the very beginning of Invisible Man, Claude Rains is great too. Another trivia tidbit is the voice of Joker in the cartoons for a long time, Mark Hamill.
Yeah.
Luke Skywalker was the voice of the Joker.
Right.
He has referenced Claude Rains in his Joker voice, that he heard him, and there's definitely, you can hear it.
That's cool. Yeah.
But
it's cool.
I love this stuff, and it's always upsetting when you find out, like, and that's like it. That's all they did was Invisible Man. Like Claude Rains did a bunch of other movies, but like the biggest, most iconic thing he ever did was Invisible Man, and then I think 20 years later he was in a dinosaur movie.
But Invisible Man still has the highest kill count.
Yeah, it's his biggest credit. Like of all the dramas and things he did after that, he was a serious actor. But yeah, similarly with Lugosi, he was Dracula.
Yeah.
But Karloff, at least he was the Mummy and Frankenstein, so he had a few others, but he was just transformative.
Yeah, he was able to mix it up. But that's pretty cool that you're into all those old monster movies, man. That people keeping that alive. Watching. Do you watch those on Halloween?
I do. Yeah.
Yeah.
I do. I love all the originals. Some of the sequels are okay. Sequels tend to just, they don't know how to have fun with sequels all the time. Like some of them, because they all got like 2 or 3, but some were interesting. And there's all these classicist people, like, this is the right way to watch them, because they split. You can make a sequel to anything. You can go back, like going on Halloween, the John Carpenter Halloween with Jamie Lee Curtis. They've erased, what is it, Halloween 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Like those are gone now. So now they're making a sequel to Halloween 1 and 2, like the current ones that Jamie Lee Curtis is all old. I'm like, okay, I'm not against what they're doing, but I love that you can just, storytelling can be whatever you want it to be.
Right. Yeah.
You can really jump in and say, well, we had a story idea for this. Oh, so we're going to continue this. It's like, well, he died at the end. Yeah. What if he didn't?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, he didn't anymore. He's still alive.
Yeah. Forget it. He's alive. He's back. And in that story, he died. But like, what if? And that's what this is. It's a what if. Continuing on, and I love that stuff. It's just be creative, do it, because it's hard. Because RoboCop, the movie RoboCop.
Yeah,
great movie. It's great. A lot of people aren't. If you've never seen it, you probably aren't aware that it actually is very well thought out, and it's a good satire. But I'm sure when that movie was a big hit, that the studio went, okay, but a lot of people don't really care, so let's just make a sequel to the trailer.
right
Because they didn't make a sequel to that movie. The second one is more just action schlock robot stuff, and it's neat, it's okay, but it doesn't have anywhere near the impact that the first one has. I'm like, I wish studios wouldn't basically suck the soul out of things.
Yeah.
Just well, this is, people don't know what it is. I'm like, well, you could put other thought in. You don't have to make a sequel to the first one. I understand the marketing and everything, but let the people making it be creative with what they're doing. Let them explore new territory then.
Right. Yeah.
And then you can just make a trailer that looks like the first one. Hey, it's RoboCop 2. It's this, remember how cool that was? You probably forgot already.
Yeah. That's when they just doing the money grab. They had a big successful movie and they're like, oh, we have to make a sequel, bank on this again, and then they just throw some garbage together. And that's why back then, especially in the 80s and 90s, and sequels were awful. But now I think they plan ahead for sequels, and some you don't even want to see. Some like, because they don't know whether the movie's gonna become a huge hit or flop, but they still have sequels tied to them.
Yeah, and they don't explore these avenues like the Bride of Frankenstein, the sequel to the original Frankenstein. Like, it started exploring different elements of these characters. Like, where else could they go rather than just doing the same thing again? And that's why that one's so highly regarded, is because of the fact they retread a little bit, but they also were like, well, what would it be like to be this thing, to have made this thing, to have this power to make these things? And it's like, that's why it holds up, and why they kept using Frankenstein so much is because that sequel was so strong. It's the same that way with Star Wars, where George Lucas is like, well, I guess we're gonna make another one. And there was all these expectations of sequels at the time, like when they make Son of Kong, or all these, all the Return to the Black Lagoon, where it's always a step down. They do 3D, they have all these gimmicks. And George Lucas worked with Lee Brackett, who I always love to get a shout out, because Lee Brackett passed away in the writing of Empire Strikes Back. They did a lot of the structure and a lot of the ideas.
Yeah.
And she was a sci-fi writer, and they explored other avenues and where you could go, because they didn't want it to be just, it's another one.
Right.
They wanted it to elevate, and clearly it did. And a lot of people love Empire Strikes Back more than anything else, because
probably the best one. Yeah.
You hammer out the writing. I guess I'm a champion for writers at the end of the day.
Yeah, there you go. It's in your soul.
Yeah.
And the climactic clash between good and evil.
Dude, Oliver, thanks so much, man, for taking the time to talk to me. Tell everybody where they could find you, follow you, and all that good stuff.
They can go to olivergraves.com, and that should have links to my YouTube and social media, which you could type in Oliver Graves IRL. So they'll get you Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, but hopefully Oliver Graves comes up and I'm show up. Although there's a tattoo artist that's also named Oliver Graves. You should check him out. He's pretty good. So if he comes up, follow him too.
Nice, man. Dude, you rock, man. Thanks so much. Oliver Graves, everybody.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. It's a lot of fun.